I started back in I followed wrestling since I was a kid, just like Ed Morady said, like a lot of people. I remember sitting in my living room one day watching Vern Gagne and the Crusher and all these guys wrestling in WTCN Studios and Channel 11 in Minneapolis, and I looked, and I was really into baseball and hockey, and I was like 15 or 16. I remember looking at my mom and saying, this is one sport I'm not going to get into, because I didn't like the way the guys were getting thrown around, and I liked it. I liked what they were doing, but I said, I could never do that. I'd never make it in that. I mean, that's a pretty rough sport. Needless to say, I ended up, I was a bag boy. I was bagging groceries, too, at the time.
Really?
Right? I bagged groceries for Nick Bockwinkel, Red Bastien, Blackjack Lanza, and then I ended up wrestling against them all, a tag team.
They just come through the grocery store?
Yeah, they were shopping in Minneapolis at the store where I lived. I grew up in Minneapolis, and they were shopping there all the time, and they'd come through, and then I ended up going to the matches and watching them, and then I'd see them at the grocery store. Then I started going to the towns with the ring crew, with Bill Crouch, Greg Gagne, Dennis Bockwinkel, Nick Bockwinkel's half-brother who passed away, God rest his soul. And I used to go to the towns with him and George Gadaski. Back in those days, I used to ride with them and go to all the cities in the 5-state area, and sometimes as far as Cheyenne, Wyoming, and Denver, just to go to the wrestling and watch it. And then Dennis Stamp, who was in Beyond the Mat.
That's right.
And he gave me my first body slam, by the way. And after we put the ring up in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
That was the referee. That referee.
Yes, he was a wrestler, too, when he first started. Wrestler and referee, did it all. And very nice man. And he's an exterminator. I mean, full-time. He owns his own business down in Amarillo, Texas. Oh. And he's one of the guys that helped me in this sport. But honest, the bottom line is bottom line.
There you go.
The bottom line, reminiscing to the radio show, I ended up telling my mom I'm never going to do that. And then, 5 years later, like I said, I'm following her wrestling all around. I'm really getting into it. I'm going to wrestling in town in Minneapolis, going to the studios, then rushing to the Minneapolis Auditorium to watch the big matches. Vern Gagne, Eduardo Carpentier, the Crusher, the Bruiser, Andre the Giant, everybody. And man, I'm going, this is unbelievable. I really liked it. And I said, maybe I can do it. Well, a lot of people don't know this, but what really made me think I could do it is I saw Vivian Vachon, Mad Dog Vachon's daughter, wrestle. One of the best lady wrestlers in the history of professional wrestling. And I saw her wrestling. She was dating Buddy Wolf at the time. And Lars Anderson's partner back then. I don't know if I'm going to be able to.
I know the names.
You do?
Some of the faces are foggy.
They're probably ringing a bell with some of the people that are listening. Some of the young kids out there probably don't know any of these, but the ones that are historians will know. And I just want to say that Vivian Vachon, I just used to watch her take those body slams and those backdrops and turnbuckles and fly out of the ring. I said, if a woman can do it, I can do it. I know I can. So that's what psyched me more to try it. And I took my first slam, and I was like, whoa, the wind came out of me from Dennis Stamp. He said, you want to feel one, kid? And I said, yeah, go ahead and give me one. He gave me one. I was like, oh, I don't know if I want to do this. But then after a little more exploring into the world of professional wrestling, I got a hold of Vern Gagne back in 1971, and I said I wanted to be a professional wrestler. I think I could be an asset and not a liability. I sat right in his office and talked to him. And he owned his own company, at the time. I mean, with Wally Carbo back then and Bill Casisto. And Marty O'Neill was the ring announcer. And, I mean, a lot of these people have passed away. Vern's still around and kicking and doing well. But I said, I want to be a professional wrestler. And he knew I'd been around a long time, and I've been going to all the towns. And to make a long story short there, he says, kid, I'm going to give you a chance. We're going to have a training camp, and we're going to announce it on television. And we're going to everybody's invited in the city that wants to come and try out. You didn't have to pay a dime, which I want to get into this. Have we got a lot of time to talk about this?
Yeah, because I wanted to ask.
I want to talk about wrestling schools today and wrestling schools back then.
A situation where they would let you train rather than...
Anybody could.
Yeah.
Well, there were 100 guys there the first day. I mean, we went out to Chaska, Minnesota, in this big barn that Vern Gagne, all this land he owned, because he lives out by Minnetonka and Mound, Minnesota, but he's a multimillionaire. But the guy's got this, all these horses in this big barn. He's got a ring in the barn. And he got all these cars pulled up, and it was, if you think you can be a wrestler, you think it's easy, come on down and try out. So that was the announcement on television. I'm going, oh my God, here we go. Yeah. So here, all these people showed up. And needless to say, after the first day, now let me get this straight. There was already one training camp before mine. I was in the second training camp that Vern ever held. The first one, Ric Flair graduated from, Greg Gagne, Jim Brunzell, the Iron Sheik.
Wow.
I'm trying to think of a couple other guys. They'll come to mind.
Steamboat in there too?
No, Steamboat was not in that one. No. And like Bob Backlund and Jesse Ventura came out of Eddie Sharkey's school. And he had a separate school, but they came out of that one. But I came out of Vern's with, at the end of the day, there was about 100 people there at the one I was at about a year after Ric Flair and all them guys broke in. And it was the exact same training camp with Billy Robinson and Vern Gagne training us. And 97 guys quit the first day.
Wow, 97.
3 of us stayed. And 3 that stayed were Chris Taylor, Bob Remus, who's Sergeant Slaughter, and Paul Pershman, who's Buddy Rose.
That's right. And then wasn't Sergeant Slaughter, Bob Remus your first match, actually?
Yeah, well, we trained for 3 months. For 3 months, 5 hours a day, 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. And they beat the living, I can't even say it on television out of us.
You can do it.
They did, and they stretched us to no end. There were like, there isn't even enough time in the show to tell you some of the experiences we went through in this camp. But if you came out of that camp, you had the respect of all the wrestlers in professional wrestling because they knew that you didn't get in the easy way. You got in the hard way, and I mean, you paid your dues. And you didn't have to pay no money. You had to pay your dues. But the deal was if you made it, you only had to pay 10%. You were guaranteed to wrestle if you made it through the camp. But you only had to pay 10% to Vern Gagne's promotion of what you made the first year.
Now,
And that was a hell of a turnout. I'd like to see a wrestling school today do that instead of all these guys scamming these poor kids.
that's what I was just about to say. Now, you said you were able to train for free, and if you made it, then you just give 10%. Whereas
Yeah, you're
guaranteed,
guaranteed, and you're guaranteed to wrestle.
Whereas
with a
today,
big
these
company.
guys paid all this big money to go out there and wrestle.
Sad
and
to say.
they guarantee them no match.
Sad to say, there's been probably like winning the lottery nowadays when they come to any of these camps to be in the big 2. Probably, I was fortunate back then. Where these kids aren't as fortunate, where there are 20 territories you could go to throughout the United States. You know, there was Texas, and there was California, there was the Bay Area, there was Portland, there was Vancouver, Calgary, right? Halifax, there was, you know, Montreal, there was New York, there was Minneapolis, there was Florida, there was Tennessee, there was Texas, and I mean 2 parts, Amarillo and Dallas, and I could go on and on and on. And I went to that camp and I made it, and I just remember after the 3 months, and boom, Vern Gagne pulled me in the office and said, "Kid, you're having your first match tonight." It was December 3rd, 1973.
Wow.
And he said, "You're wrestling against Remus." It was Paul Pershman against Bob Remus. And it was, he says, "You're going to Rice Lake, Wisconsin." The main event was, believe it or not, Ivan Koloff against Ken Patera, who came out of that first camp.
And was a guest on our show once.
Was he?
Bottom line.
There you go. That's right. And so I watched, I was like, I couldn't believe, you know, just going into a dressing room like I did and being in there with the wrestlers and changing and going out to wrestle. And they watched us. We came back and they said, "You guys did really good. A lot of mistakes you made." We had no ring psychology whatsoever, but we knew how to do wrestling. Like, we knew how to work on each other's arms, the head, the legs, and we knew all the holds. We knew tackles, tickles and tackles and backdrops and turnbuckles. It's just, and we were gifted. I mean, we were very good at what we did, and the only thing was what we needed to learn was, like Lars Anderson used to say to us, Larry Heinini, "You guys he didn't teach you ring psychology, and you're going to learn that over time." And boom, I sat down with the best of them, the Bachwinkles, the Ray Stevens, and they sat, and I can go on and on with the names of wrestlers that sat down and took the time to help me and tell me, well, how do you use ring psychology with the people? And I was taught by some of the best, and you know, like Ray Stevens said to me one day, he says, "You know, kid, I wouldn't take the time to explain this to you, but you listen, and when I watch you, you go out and do what we told you to do, and that's why a lot of guys try to help you." He said, "I can tell this to anybody, a lot of wrestlers, and they won't listen, so I don't waste my time anymore. But kid, I'll waste my time with you because it's not wasting my time." He said, "It's because you're learning, and you're going to be great in this sport someday." And needless to say, I made a living all my life with it.
Exactly. So, who were some of your favorite wrestlers that you try to emulate their style? Because obviously,
very good. You had to have your own style. You got to have your own. There's so many guys copying other guys and their catchphrases. You know what I mean? That's, I guess, you know, but I don't know. I'm not here to teach either right now on television, but it's almost like it's God-given. It's a gift you got. And what I did is I put a little Terry Funk, a little Nick Bockwinkel, a little Ray Stevens, a little of Lars Anderson, a little of Buddy Wolf, all the guys I was watching back then in Minneapolis. I put a little all them together, and a little of this guy's stuff, a little of that guy's, and I created my own Playboy Buddy Rose. Terry Funk, by the way, is the one that gave me my name.
I just wanted to talk about that. How long did you wrestle As
2 years.
For 2 years. For 2 years you wrestled in.
Mm-hmm. Full time,
So
2 years.
when did you get to the point where you got to with Terry Funk and he actually gave you the name Playboy Buddy Rose?
Okay, we were in Texas one night, and he says, Paul Pershman, is your name, but it's not going to, even though his name's Terry Funk. I mean, he said it's not going to draw money. You need a name that's catchy, and you need a name that's people can remember. And he took a lot of time with me too, and sat. I rode many miles with that guy in the car and on airplanes. And he says you need a name that's catchy, and so we talked about it, and he came up with Rose, and that's easy to remember. And then Bobby Rose, Billy Rose, and I like Buddy Wolf, Buddy Wolf. And then the Playboy part, I was with Fritz von Erich sitting in his office in Dallas, and he says, you need a charismatic gimmick name, a catchy name. What do you like to do, kid? I said, I like to gamble. I like Las Vegas. I like women. He's Playboy. And it was Playboy. Gary Hart was there at the time.
Yeah.
And it was like, but I was going to Portland. And so it was like, he says, so when I went downstairs and told Gary Hart I got the name Playboy, but Gary Hart was not a wrestler. He was just a manager. He says, let me shake your hand. He said, if Fritz von Erich said Playboy, he says, you got it, take it, and run with it, make some money with it, kid. And I said, okay, I appreciate, thanks, because if it has any heat with you, I don't want to do it. And he says, no. And yeah, I respected that, and he respected that. So Portland to Rose City, and that's how it started.
Was that your first territory that you actually worked?
Yeah, about a week before I came here, I bleached my hair, and week before I came to Portland, and then my first night I walked in the dressing room, and there's the governor of Minnesota, who used to be a wrestling fan, all excited to see me because I met him when he was a wrestling fan. I was wrestling. Can I tell you a little story about Jesse?
Yeah.
We're talking about 1973.
I know there's a lot of things about Jesse that we probably can't get into on this show.
Oh, no, that book, he ain't got time to bleed.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, I can make him bleed right here, but I'm not going to do it at this time because it's not true. The whole book's not true, and I can say that. But there is a time and a place that I will bring that up. Maybe in my own book, or maybe in a movie, or maybe in some proposition that might be worth my while for that. But until then, I just want to say, Jesse Ventura, I met him when I was coming back from the ring in Minneapolis Auditorium one night, and Superstar Billy Graham was in the dressing room, and he looked just like him. He had the bleached blonde hair, receding hairline, and he had a great body, and he was like, at the time, I think I was 21 or 22, and he was like 22 or 23, he was a year older than me. And he says, Paul, I want to meet Superstar Billy Graham. Can you ask him to come out and meet me? And boom, I told Billy Graham, there's a guy out there just like he said, I know, I can't believe it, brother. That's how Superstar Billy Graham talked. And what a great guy he was, too. And to make a long story short there, though, he says, I'll go out and talk to him. And it's like, his twin, he couldn't believe it.
Really?
A younger version of Billy Graham, because there was only one Billy Graham at the time. And that's how I met Jesse. And then when I came to Portland, I walked through the doors, and I go in the dressing room, and Jesse comes up and gives me a hug and shakes my hand and says, you remember me? I'm the guy that asked you to introduce me to Superstar Billy Graham. I said, yeah, I know. I heard you've been wrestling. You got in about a year after I did.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And so we were tag team the first night against Snuka and Savage for the tag team titles of the Northwest, and we beat them.
That's right. Now, how long did you spend in Portland before you went to WWF for your first initial time?
I was here 76, 77, then 78. This deal came up in Australia. Here we go. There's my lovely wife sitting over there in the corner, and she's going to love this. There was, never was, or maybe, or canceled, but Australia was booked for Roddy Piper and myself and Bruno Sammartino and Red Bastien, and we were all, we got to Hawaii, and we get a phone call before we move on from Hawaii. I checked out of Portland in 78 now, get this. Telling Don Owens I got it, because it was like $100,000 a year back then.
Wow.
They were giving us. And it was like, and I was making like 50, 60 grand with Don, but I want to make 100,
Yeah, right.
So anyway, so I'm like, okay. So we all had to take this offer. The money was unbelievable. That's like $1 million today.
Yeah.
So we get to Hawaii, and all of a sudden there's a call from Bastien and Bruno saying things have changed, and all this planning had been going on, because I told Don Owens, I gave him like a month's notice that I'm going. And Roddy was leaving L.A., and I mean, it was like, oh my God, here we go. We're all doing good too, wherever we were at. They tell us, no, it's all the main guy over there pulled out, and there were some problems with the TV. And it was like, don't keep coming, stop. So I'm in Hawaii. So I get a hold of Russ Francis's dad, Ed Francis, who's the promoter of Hawaii at the time. They had a promotion going on there. And I says, man, I'm in Hawaii and I need to wrestle. And Rick Martel was there at the time, John Tolis, and John Studd, with my tag team partner, and I ended up wrestling in Hawaii for the next 6 months, and I still then I called Don Owens and said what happened in Australia, and I'd done some kind of a match where I couldn't come back here for like a certain stipulation of time. So what I did was I came back and under a mask, which was the greatest idea in the world, because then Ed Wiskowski said, I got a mystery partner, and it's, I can't even remember what my name was that he called me then, but I came back as his tag team partner, and I'd fly back on Tuesday night specials from Hawaii. Don would fly me in, and we'd sell out the place again. I'd still wrestle in Portland. And I remember there was one week I had a Hawaii on a Sunday, then San Francisco on a Monday, and then Hawaii and Portland on a Tuesday, and back to Hawaii on a Wednesday. I mean, I was shuffling back and forth a lot back in those days. But then I ended up finishing up in Hawaii, and then I went to San Francisco in '78. All right, we okay still?
We're cool.
You following me?
I'm following you.
Okay, I had a nice run in Hawaii, and it was nice, but you feel like you're on an island, and you want to get off, and I wanted back to civilization. Even though Hawaii is a great place, I still love to go there, but I don't want to, wouldn't want to live there.
Yeah.
But I love the Northwest, and I'll get into that too.
Playboy Buddy Rose, as you know, makes many investments. He's invested in softball, in cars, in stocks and bonds. One of his latest investments here is the Dynamite Kid. Playboy Buddy Rose.
Check it out. My first investment this year was my old softball team, their old uniforms, Playboy, Sassy's, Chassie's, Buddies. Look at all the teams that were in the tournament last week. In the first tournament that I entered them in, we won first place, as Don Cox can tell you. He was there, and we won the championship because of my investment. And speaking of investment, the Playboy invested in a wrestler, the greatest wrestler to come into the Northwest in many years. And his name is Dynamite Kid.
Introducing in this corner the team of the Dynamite Kid and Playboy Buddy Rose. Their opponents in this corner, the team of Bert Henning and Billy Jack.
Dynamite Kid. Reversal. Into the turnbuckle. Another one. Is that the way they treated him in Japan, Dutch?
I don't think so. I keep telling you, the talent from the Pacific Northwest is capable of going anywhere in the world and selling out. There's an arm drag, fast arm drag by the Kid. Henning's back up. There's a double wrist lock takedown, flying hit. That's not a flying hit, it's a laying hit. It happens so fast that I already saw it.
Oh. Well, this could be tough to follow.
These guys from the Northwest, that's why the Stukas, the Roses, the Billy Jacks, the Jesse Venturas, the Adrian Adonises, the list goes on and on and on, infinitesimal. They get their start here in the Northwest. We make stars out of them, and then we put them on Lend-Lease to the Eastern Territories, and we don't see them for quite a while. But remember, they started here.
That's right. Oh, there was
Fast reversal.
Yeah, by the Dynamite Kid into a hammerlock. Now he's got Hennig. Oh, forearm side of Hennig's face. He's going to go into the turnbuckle. Up part of his shoulder and part of his neck on that one. That was right into Rose's knee. Now they're going to do a number on Hennig. That's what you call making a tag.
Oh, Rose just kicked him right with the laces and everything, right smack on the forehead. The reason it was legal, he hit him with the shin rather than the foot. Time for a pin.
Wait till this Dynamite Kid meets up with Billy Jack, too. I'm anxious to see that. Rose going to go for a suplex. He's got it. Can he bring it over?
And he does. Gets out of the way, too, nicely. Didn't take Bert's body weight on that one. There's a try for a pin by the Playboy. We have a 2 count, and Henning comes out of it.
Rose makes the tag with the Kid.
There's a try for an elbow right across the jaw area. I think he got a little bit of his throat on that one.
Yeah, I think he did.
Dynamite picks Henning up. There's another inside suplex. Quick. Extremely quick suplex. Try for a pin. Whoa, Henning kicked out.
Oh, in the nick of time, too. I've never seen a suplex that fast. A right uppercut by Dynamite Kid. Oh, now Rose is going to work on Hennig over on top rope. Look at that.
Got to keep your eye on Buddy all the time. There, outside, coming at you. Dynamite grabs the referee to divert him.
Here comes Billy
Carl
Jack.
has none of that.
Well, Billy Jack came to Hennick's rescue there, and Rose backed off very quickly. Well, Dynamite's got Hennick by the hair a little bit. Here comes the right forearm. Smash to the back. Another smash to the back of the neck on that one. Oh, man. Hey, makes a tag with Rose.
Billy dying to get in that ring.
Oh, he is.
Kurt taking an awful lot of abuse from Rose and the Dynamite Kid. Coming straight at you. That's what a back. Oh! Victory roll. Dynamite's in the ring like a shot. Thump hitting on top of the head. Extremely quick, extremely agile.
His timing was beautiful on that one.
Rose just threw a kick at Billy Jack, and all it did was get him mad.
I think Rose hurt his foot, I think.
He's not going to try to suplex him out of the ring. No, he isn't. Henning got him up for there it is.
Oh.
Henning took some of that blow, Don.
Yeah, he did. Took it on his left side there, left shoulder. Henning tried to get over to make the tag with Billy Jack. Billy's weak. I think he's going to do it. He did it!
Billy Jack!
Billy's in.
He is madder than a pistol. Rose can't get in there. Billy takes him, thumps him a couple of times. Rose in past the Dynamite Kid.
What's that kid doing?
He's thumping away on Henning. Billy can't see him.
Oh, we'd have had a pin there. That guy's crazy. Oh, hey, welcome to Billy Jack country. Look at that. I don't think a tag was made, was it?
Billy Jack almost disemboweled him.
Oh.
Left hand hook. Flat of the arm. Arm whip all the way across the ring. Billy Jack going up for a high monkey flip. Oh! He almost did a 1.5. The kid doesn't know where he is. Oh! Smashed by the head by Billy Jack into the corner.
Vicious smash that was.
That's a reversal. The kid tries for a slam, short slam. Kid going up to the top rope. Billy Jack trying to come to his senses. There's a drop kick.
Boy, he really
A
nailed it.
nip up after a drop kick from the top rope.
He really nailed Billy on that one. I think he caught him right on the jaw, Dutch.
There's a short slam again. No, it's something different.
Oh.
Standing pile driver, the hard way.
That may be it.
There's your first fall. Dynamite Kid and Playboy Buddy Rose.
This is one of the most exciting matches that I've seen since I've been here, Dutcher. This is Action City. He makes a tag with Kurt Hennig. Hennig is in. Look at Hennig. He's going to unload all over Playboy Buddy Rose. And he does. Whips him into the turnbuckle. Airborne. Ooh.
Airborne, he came down with ice on him.
That's a body slam. Oh,
Kurt Hennig's going up. If he drop kicks Rose, he may have to kill him. He does!
He got it.
Oh, my goodness! Dynamite tries to come in, takes a terrible spell.
Dynamite Kid tried to come off that top rope.
We're all even in a fall of peace. I wonder if Rose was hurt on that one.
Oh, great move by Northwest Heavyweight Champion Hennig to a head scissors on Playboy Buddy Rose.
This man, part of the Portland community, a part of the Pacific Northwest. Tom Peterson is a gentleman of true form, and when I look at him and how long he's been faithful to us, hard right hand by Henning, it amazes me. And he never changes. He's a heck of a guy. Yeah, never changes. Always has a smile. Always has a good word for everybody. The Samoans, Ron Ritchie, Chris Colt. Not to mention one of our veterans, all-time great, Stan Sajak. There's a try for a goal behind by Rose. He tried to slam. Turned around, ran into a right hand. He met a boot by Billy Jack when he came into the ring. Here's an arm. Ooh! Hard arm whip. He picks him up. Oh, he slammed him on his shoulder. There's a try for a full action.
Here comes that Dynamite Kid in there again.
He raked Billy extremely hard across the facial area. Rose is holding Billy Jack. There's a drop kick. Oh! A Dynamite Kid knocks Buddy Rose flat on his back.
This
There's
might
a
be it.
sugar hole by Billy Jack.
He got it.
He got it.
if there's time. But I came back and I went to the Bay Area, and Red Bastien and Roy Shire were running that area, and I went there, and I was offered a nice contract, a guaranteed contract, working 3 days a week, and it was very good money back in 1978, and I couldn't refuse that. And I was supposed to wrestle for the U.S. heavyweight title back then, Moondog Ronnie Main. And I was all prepared to wrestle for the U.S. Heavyweight Championship, which I ended up becoming the champion.
That's right.
But I'll tell you how that happened. We're doing a TV in Sacramento on a Monday night, and there's no Moondog Ronnie Main at the TV. We're wondering, where is he? And the night before, God rest his soul, as everybody knows, he was killed in a car accident.
That's right.
Driving back from San Bernardino to, which I just wrestled in about a month ago, San Bernardino to L.A., and you know, he was a dying man, you know, but a hell of a wrestler and a great friend. There's another guy that helped me a lot in this business too, Ronnie May.
Yeah.
And I got to say that that we ended up having a tag team tournament. Was not a tag team tournament, excuse me, a battle royal at the Cow Palace, Roy Shires, and all Ernie the Cat Ladd, Ray Stevens. He had all Peter Maivia. I mean, all these stars flowing in from all over the country, and the winner of the Battle Royal would be the U.S. Heavyweight Champion, and I won.
That's how you got the U.S. Heavyweight.
Mhm.
Wow, it's a good story.
It was tough.
And here comes the Playboy Buddy Rose and Alexis Smirnoff.
Here comes the U.S. Heavyweight Champion, Playboy
Well,
Buddy Rose,
don't
the future
get-
U.S. Heavyweight
Don't
Champion.
get excited, baby.
Listen, you know real well that's going to be a long night. I listened the promoter Roy Shire when he mentioned some of the wrestlers going to need to wrestle maybe 3 times. And believe me when I say, most of the time when you wrestle 1 time, it's enough because you always give everything you got inside of you. So everybody's going to need to be in shape. And I got to be
Well,
there.
10 best in the United States. Believe me, they're all in
And I
top
know
shape.
Smirnoff's name is there. Buddy Rose
Right.
there.
What happens if in the draw from the jar, you draw number 9 and Buddy draws number 10? You have to wrestle each other.
Well, of course I will.
I'll beat him.
What do you think you're going to be?
I'll beat you.
Hey, listen, you kid, I gotta tell you one thing, you bleach blonde. I gotta do anything.
Hey, now, wait a minute.
What do you think?
look
You
into
wanna-
your crystal ball? You want to look into your
I
crystal
don't
ball?
care, but I gotta take it in time because it's money and prestige.
Hold
okay?
it, hold it. The
Oh, I
tournament
know.
is
I don't care what
16th.
you're gonna say, but
September 16th.
we'll see because I hope so. I hope it's gonna be you and I gotta teach you a little lesson, kid.
Hey, let me tell you something.
Now,
I'm gonna
hold
win
it.
that
Don't
thing.
push
Don't
me.
you tell me, because it's going to be my belt. Shires, it's going to be my belt. And you and everybody else listening, it's going to be my
When your first time you worked for WWF, that was Vince McMahon Sr., am I right?
Yes.
Now, how
That
would
was
you compare the two?
1982 now. Oh, after San Francisco, then I came back, and then I was working the whole West Coast, L.A., Portland, L.A.
You
San
usually
Francisco.
went back and forth.
I was going everywhere. Now, yes, and I was defending the U.S. title up and down the West Coast, and points in between and everywhere around. But for that generation and for those 3 territories. But then I came up to Portland, back to Portland, and I've been talking to Roddy a lot in L.A., and he was the top guy down in L.A.
Well, you got Piper to come down to the Northwest, am I correct?
And come up to the Northwest.
Yeah,
Yeah,
come up,
I mean, he'll
yeah.
tell you that. He'll tell you that. He helped me a lot, and I helped him a lot back in those days. And we're really good friends to this day. But that guy, you know, he mapped out his own life, and he's done a great job, and you know, he's got a great family, and he's doing great, and I'm really happy for him. And I just want to say that he didn't want to leave there because he was the main guy for years there, and he was you know, the star of the Los Angeles area, and he was flying to Texas because their TV reached into the Mexican, and he wrestled all the Guerreros in San Antonio and all that, and sell out. He'd fly there out of LA, but I told him what kind of money. I asked him what he was making a week there, and he told me, and I said, what you can make a week up in Portland, and it was a little more, and he was like, oh, all right, but where am I going to be when I go to Portland? I says, you'll be on top. You know you're going to be. You know you're going to, just like you are here. First night he came up, he was tag team with Killer Brooks, myself, and Ed Wiskowski. We were in an 8-man tag, I think, against, was it one of the Guerreros? Ron Starr, I think Hector Guerrero, and I can't remember the other 2 guys for sure, but we ended up splitting up the first night because there were too many Chiefs and not enough Indians, and we crippled Killer Brooks. I mean, not crippled, I gave him the backbreaker, and Ed Wiskowski dropped the knee across his neck, and we put him out of wrestling for a little while, and the people started to cheer Roddy Piper and Killer Brooks, and they were a formidable team, and Ed Wiskowski and I, they booed us, and ended up, it was the beginning of one of the greatest runs in the history of Pacific Northwest Wrestling.
You and Ed were ready. Scott and Wiskowski, rather.
Me and Wiskowski against Piper and Killer Brooks.
That's right. Having worked for both Vince McMahon and Vince McMahon Sr.
That was a year later. No, we're talking a couple years later on that.
Just kind of fast forward a little bit. Just out of curiosity, how would you compare the two? Who was easier to work for? I think I kind
Senior.
of that's what I figured.
Senior, oh yeah, he was more low keyed, and he always had a roll of quarters in his hands. He always rolling the quarters, and he treated you very fair. He was like he didn't care what he heard about you before you came in there. A lot of people, like when I went there, some people would try to badmouth me and wrote him personally to try to tell him that, you don't want Playboy Buddy Rose, blah, 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 blah. And he said, he told them back, he took me off to the side, and he said, this happened with Bob Orton Jr. too, he said, because we were rebels in this business. I'm a rebel. I'm considered a rebel. And a rebel in this business is a guy that likes to do it his way. I like to do it my way or no way, or I don't want to work for the promoter. I got my way with Don Owens. I got my way with Roy Shires. I got my way in Hawaii. I got my way in New York with Vince McMahon Sr. Vince McMahon Jr. was the announcer.
The Portland Sports Arena will see this Tuesday night Playboy Buddy Rose square off against a man making what he hopes to be a triumphant return this Tuesday night after a 2-year absence, Roddy Piper, a man that's likely to give you a run for your money, Mr. Rose.
There's a reason for this, and the Wiz will tell you what that is. My manager, the Wizard, I introduce you people to him now.
You have a so-called champion that answers to the name of Ric Flair, who deliberately got himself disqualified to save his belt, and now he sends in stooge number 1, Roddy Piper. Well, Roddy, let me tell you, on my behalf and on Buddy's, you're going to be playing your bagpipes from a different when Buddy Rose gets done with you.
That's right. Piper, now you make your return. Now you want a championship match with Ric Flair. Well, I have found out that the winner of this match will get to meet Ric Flair in the near future in the Portland Sports Arena. Well, let me tell you something, Roddy Piper. You've been gone for a long time, and the Playboy's never left. He's still there. I leave, but I still come back. But you didn't come back. You let your people down. You think they're going to back you up now? They forgot who Roddy Piper is. They don't know who Roddy Piper is. We'll find out when we walk in that squared circle. We'll see if your fans still back you up. But they won't. Buddy Rose and Roddy Piper are going to meet once again, and the winner will meet Ric Flair and Piper. It's going to be a fight, but I'm not going down no more.
They may not recognize Roddy's by face, but they sure will by smell.
The Grand Wizard, along with Playboy Buddy Rose.
And I could do anything my way. They would suggest things, I'd suggest things, but we'd come to a meeting of the minds, a compromise, and we'd do it, and we'd make money with it. It was simple. And he says, I had this problem with Bob Orton Jr., a few other wrestlers, but he says, I'm not going to judge you from what other people said about you. I'm going to judge you by the way I seen you, what you've done for me, and all you've done for me is being professional. And so as long as you're professional, he says, I'm going to treat you professional, and I'll take care of you. And I said, thanks. I said, that's all I ask. And the rest was history, and I had a nice run in there and made a lot of money. And I think what they did was they'd bring you in for like the Billy Grahams and the Moroccos and the Bob Orton Jr.'s and myself back then. They bring you in for like 6 months and run you run the gamut with Backlund, Pedro Morales, Rocky Johnson, and Ivan Putski. That's who you wrestled. You knew you had one of those 4 every night. And I was like about $150,000 in 6 months, and that was big money back then too.
Yeah, definitely.
And I had Kurt Hennig with me.
Yes.
I brought him. I helped Kurt. When you want to get back to that story about Kurt Hennig, when he came out here, Rick Martel called me on the phone one day when I was out here in Portland, because I had a lot of pull in Portland over those days. Yeah. And a lot of people would call me and say, "Do you think you could?" Rick Martel, after he left here, said, "Do you think you can help Kurt Hennig?" I didn't know who Kurt Hennig was. It's Larry Hennig's kid, and I says, "Yeah, I'll help him." He said, "All I had to do was take Rick Martel's word. Back then, you could just take a guy's word. You didn't even have to see a videotape." And he said, "This guy's got it. He's going to be like one of us someday. He's going to make it really big." Yeah. And he came in, and I came in the dressing room with a hockey stick and skates because I'd just been skating. That's how he first saw me, he says. He'll never forget me with that hockey stick and skates walking in the arena. And because I had just been skating in some hockey game, and then I had to rush over to the sports arena to wrestle that night. And he ended up being one of the top, good guys here in Portland, and I wrestled against him for the next year or so, and made a lot of money with him, and all he did was blossom out of what he used to be to what he is today.
That's right. In fact, on a former edition of Squirtsville's Greatest Matches, we played a 2-out-of-3 fall match that you had with him in the sports arena.
Right.
And that was actually a very, very good match.
Yes.
Now let's.
I said I brought him to New York with me. Then when I went to New York, he was an opening bouts in New York, but he was getting groomed for the future, because they knew someday this Curt Hennig's going to be a main event all around, and he is today.
Even
Ladies and gentlemen, the man that just put Buddy Rose out of condition for a while. At least we think so. Curt Hennig.
Thank you very much, Dutch. First of all, I'd like to say hi to all the people up here in the Northwest, and it's really great to be back here, number one. The reason I came back was to do a job on a guy here named Buddy Rose, first of all, who hurt my knee, put me in the hospital, made me not make any money, made me not be able to play with my children, and that's not a very good feeling when you're in the hospital and you don't work. But I came back for one reason. Number one reason was to get Mr. Rose. Number two reason I'm here, to get the Pacific Northwest belt, and by God, I'm going to do everything I can with the support of the people to do that.
What year is this?
1982.
So
82 and
he was
83.
in WWF.
With me every night. We were in the same car. He was riding with me and going to every town I was going to.
See, that most people, or I would say most of the newer fans, or maybe newer from the last 10 years or so, probably would think that Curt Hennig's first time in WWF was when he was like Mr. Perfect.
No.
And actually, he was there before then.
Right, exactly.
That's something I didn't even know.
Yeah,
actually.
he didn't. I think he won a match in the whole 6 months or 7 months he was there. He didn't win one match.
Wow, really?
And I wrestled him in a lot of towns. I wrestled him, on TV and a couple of towns when they needed somebody didn't show up, so I volunteered to wrestle him and got extra double pay. That was nice about Vince McMahon Sr. too. He paid you both times,
Really?
and not just a little extra. He paid you a lot. So I had a lot of good matches with Curt Hennig back there, and I enjoyed working with him. So.
Definitely. What's your opinion of Vince McMahon Sr.?
Like I said, he'd roll over in his grave probably today if he knew what his kid had done.
Yeah.
But God love what Vince Sr.'s done with it. I don't agree with every direction that they've gone. Like when all the big stars went to the WCW and then they started to groom their own young stars.
Yeah.
They took a complete left turn, and what they did was they went into shock wrestling and giving you like we said, the puppies,
That's right.
which we're going to show you at the end of the show.
Exactly.
And then they would start giving you, a lot of language, verbal discretion there used. And I remember when I used to wrestle, I've got some pictures over here. We're going to eventually show where my tights are being pulled down when I'm climbing over a cage and stuff like that. They used to yell at me for that. And then when I get back to the dressing room, now they show it all the time. It's nothing.
Yeah.
I used to get yelled at. I guess I was ahead of my time, but I used to do that, and I didn't care, but boy, the people would go crazy, I mean, I wasn't, it's just, I'm trying to get out of something, and somebody grabs me by the tights, they come down.
That's it.
I can't help it,
Now, you also were the first, and I may be wrong, but I think I'm right. Were you the first with the music and the ladies? Because women is a big part of wrestling these days. In fact, a lot of times they try to sell the women over the actual wrestling.
Everybody's got a woman now.
But you were the ones that started.
Yeah, I did. I did it in Portland too. I had women go to the ring in Portland, and then Madison Square Garden, where it was, you saw it on USA and it was nationwide. I was kind of more or less mainstream there. That it was.
Well, they were like part of the act. I mean, they came with you on the road.
Yeah,
right?
I had a couple that were regulars with me that out of here from the Northwest, and then they would get paid a couple $100 each night. I mean, that was big money to them.
Yeah.
In cash, boom. I mean, they weren't making. I was making a lot of money myself, but to them that was big money. And so 7 nights a week, $1,400 a week they were making, But unbelievable back then. It was, then I go to Toronto. Now, they didn't go with me into Canada, but the promoter up there, Jack Tunney, I think his name was, had these girls in bikinis, almost like the girls are now in WWF, and hardly anything was covered. They were like, bikini winners from Hawaii or something. I mean, they brought me to the ring with big puppies, so I guess you would say, I was the first to do that. But now, I don't know. It's just you see everybody with them, and it doesn't mean as much anymore.
Yeah, the effect is pretty much gone.
Right, but it does draw a lot of people to watch it. A lot of people like to watch that, and then a lot of people are against it too.
Now, you're obviously someone that's from the old school, if you want to use that term, of wrestling and wrestling psychology. What do you think when you see people of the new school, if they even want to call it that, kind of run down the old school. Like, for instance, and if I may digress just for a quick second, I was watching a wrestling program just the other day, and I heard a guy by the name of Johnny Fairplay on TV using wrestling terms. In fact, a match had started, and he said to the other guy, we might go Broadway on this. And for everybody that knows, go the time limit.
I think
but to the fans and the crowd, or at home, just the average fan,
they don't know what that means.
They don't know what that means. So what do you think, what's your opinion on stuff like that today in wrestling?
With all due respect to John and to all the wrestlers.
I'm just using it as an example.
But to all of them that do that, they didn't have to pay their dues like we did. And when you had to pay the dues like we did and we were trained the way we were, that's why we are the way we are. Mm-hmm. That's why the Pipers are like the Pipers, and the Buddy Roses are like the Buddy Roses, and the Kurt Hennings are like the Kurt Hennings. Mm-hmm. We will never be like that till we go to our grave. We won't be, because we paid our dues in this business. When you get in really the easy way, and if you want to call it being in, because you're not really. God love these guys. I mean, they want to, I hope they make it someday. But I mean, the way they're going about it, I just can't say it. It's almost apartment wrestling, backyard wrestling. It's just, unless you've been to the big companies and have the respect and what it takes to do that, you'll never know. Yeah. You won't know, and you won't have that respect. And that's why when you don't, sometimes you come out showing a different side of yourself, or you don't care about protecting, what you've worked hard to be good at.
Exactly. Now, Buddy Rose, let's take a short break here. We're going to take a look at a video package with a lot of stuff. There's some commercials on there. There's some matches on there. There's some promos on there. There's a mixed bag, if you will. So, wrestling fans, let's take a look at Playboy Buddy Rose, my guest right here in action on the Sports Show's Greatest Matches. We'll be back for another half hour of questions with the Playboy right here on TSCGM.
Don't forget the puppies.
I'm Buddy Rose, the best in wrestling. The best in racing comes this 4th of July weekend, Friday through Monday at the Rose City Speedway. The biggest races of the season come Sunday and Monday afternoons. The 4th is the G.I. Joe's Firecracker 150 Winston West NASCAR Grand National. On Monday, the start of a tradition, the Interstate Challenge Cup for Super Stocks in another 150 lappers. Sunday night, it's jalopies and fireworks. Racing every weekend at Rose City Speedway. Don't miss it.
I love excitement.
Now I'm with XPW down there in Los Angeles.
Yeah, talk about that.
I'm wearing one of their T-shirts right now, and Rob Black's the promoter, and he signed me to a pretty lucrative deal. I have to say I'm really happy with it. Everything first class, from the airplane from the airport to the hotels to taking care of everything that I asked for, and he's going to let me do what I want to do, and I'm managing Steve Rosano down there, the Gigolo, and I'm also doing a Rose Garden down there, like a Piper's Pit.
Which you did Piper's Pit, that's right. Mm-hmm. But let's take I want to get your opinion before we talk about the AWA and some of the other your time at WWF. What is your opinion on the state of wrestling in the Northwest, from being like somewhat of the
elders?
What
wrestling?
Well, there you go. Well, some of the fly-by-night promotions, if you will.
But, I say that with all due respect to a point, too. Mm-hmm. Because I was like them. They're like me. We all wanted to be wrestlers. We all wanted to make it somehow, some way, someday. And it's just sad. Like I said, you got wrestlers all over this country now trying to make a living that are not making a living from professional wrestling, that are training people off the street. And just because they were on TV a couple of times or something, all of a sudden people go, I won't mention any names, but they know who they are. Because for every person that came up to me and asked me to train them and offer me a few $1,000s, I mean, I could do that, but I'm not going to do that. I really don't have the time, and I don't want to really have to do that. And I did help a couple guys when I first started, like Ed Moretti and Kurt Hennig, and there was a few others too that I helped.
You trained one of the Von Erichs too.
Yeah, Kevin Von Erich. Right, yeah. I trained him, and his dad paid me back in those days, back in '75. He paid me $100 in the afternoon for just an hour and a half, 2 hours to work out with him in the ring. And Red Bastien and Fritz Von Erich sit there at ringside in the Sportatorium when I worked out. He's still the only one alive of all the kids, too. Yeah. And what a story the Von Erichs are, too, of course. And then he had his first match with me, by the way, too, Kevin Von Erich. To make a long story short, though, all these schools that are all over the country, everybody, all these fans that are just jumping and flocking to him and paying their hard-earned dollars to try to fulfill their dream. And it's like I said, it's like trying to win the lottery in the earlier segment.
Yeah.
Only one in thousands and thousands are going to make it. And it's not like it used to be when you're trained by real true professionals that really knew what they were doing, and you were guaranteed to work. Because these guys that are training now can't pick up a phone and call WWF or WCW and go, I got somebody for you. They just can't. You know what I mean? It's because they're not reputable, or they got in trouble, or they were fired, or they just have a lot of heat with them.
They really shouldn't be training somebody to begin with, am I right?
Yeah, and some of them are training that don't want to work themselves.
Yeah.
So
that's the case with a few people. We won't name any names.
Exactly.
I mean, most people.
I'm not going to do that. Right. Exactly. But I mean, I guess they got to put food on the table and they got to eat somehow. So it's sad to have to do it that way. But if it was like if anybody could go out there and guarantee, like, okay, I'll train you. Okay, I will book you, and then just give me 10% of what you make the first year. Then look for something like that, like I did, and then you know you're not going to get screwed over, and then you know you're guaranteed to wrestle, and then you know you're going to make money, and then you know it's a tax write-off too.
Yeah.
That 10% is a tax write-off.
Here's something I've actually wanted to do in an interview with you for a while. It's something that I want to get your opinion on, of course. It's called the name game, and people have done it before.
And before you even ask me, see, I didn't know you were going to say that. Everything we're doing here is spontaneous. I told you, don't tell me nothing ahead of time, right?
Exactly.
I just want it to come off the top of my head and roll off my tongue, and we'll just wing it.
Yeah, exactly.
I love that the best because I don't like anything that's pre-planned. I just like to wing it. That's the way I've done it in professional wrestling from day one. I'd show up at a building. I don't mean to interrupt you, but I'd show up at a building. They'd say, get in the ring. I don't even know who I was wrestling. I'd see another guy on the other side. Boom, the bell rings. I'm wrestling.
Exactly.
And that's how it's been for me. So that's what I'm best at. So let's do it.
In fact, it might be a cool scenario. One day we could do a live show, have the people call in.
Exactly.
Right here in the studio.
Like we did on the radio.
That's right.
We handled that real well.
That'll be something we'll do in the future, definitely. Yeah. All right, I'm just going to throw a name out there. You give me the first word or the first sentence that comes to mind, right off the top of your head. You don't have to think about it.
Let me look. Is there anything up there? Okay. I'm starting to lose. I'm starting to get that Hulk Hogan toilet seat look. Okay. Maybe that's a good thing or a bad thing. I don't know.
Hey.
A lot of people pulling my hair.
That's right. Vince McMahon, Senior.
Boy, it's a tough one. Fair.
Fair.
Honest.
How about Junior?
Creative.
Ivan Kafori.
Cheapskate. I'm just being honest.
Hey.
He's well off. He's done well in the radio business, but when it comes to money.
Yeah. Jeff Kafori.
Cheapskate again. If a nickel fell on the ground, they'd both jump down and fight over it. They'd tug for it.
Oh, here's one I'm looking forward to, and I think I already know the answer.
But hey, don't get me wrong. They both gave us a break to do our radio show.
Hey, we're not talking trash or anything.
No.
I gotta hand it to Ivan. He gave us the radio show.
Yep.
And he also gave
we gave him ratings.
That's right. He also gave me and my crew the opportunity to do the Port Wrestling, and so we're not dissing.
Yeah. No.
That's just your opinion.
He's been very successful in most everything he did except the promoting of wrestling. He tried it, though. I got to give him credit. At least he tried.
At least he lasted longer than most people do, too, I guess you could say, too.
Yeah.
Here's one that didn't last so long, okay? And I'm looking forward to this one.
All right. Who?
P.D. Schweitzer. Or should I say...
Shyster.
Pete Shyster. There you go.
No, he was fair with me in the beginning, and then he made me an offer, and it didn't come through. And he canceled on me, and I had another offer in Indianapolis, and I lost out a couple shots there. And I'm right now going through his bonding company and through the commission on that at this time. So I saw that he had, somebody told me that had these computers, these websites and stuff.
That's right.
I know nothing about computers and nothing about, I don't even know what a mouse is. What's a mouse on a computer?
What's the little thing that you move it around?
Okay. All right. Well, anyway, they just said he had posted something about that. I wrote something on the Ring Around the Northwest. I have seen that with Mike Rogers. I like Mike. But I just don't. The guy makes me an offer, then cancels, and then I lose out on the Indianapolis deal.
So you lost both money.
I lost both. And I said, so who's going to take care of it? Let's go to the commission and go to the bonding company. And you got to keep your word, or else, don't make promises you really can't cash,
I say good intentions, terrible businessman. Would you agree with that?
Right. Very good.
What about Ron Barber?
Goof.
I think that
but not stupid. He's made a lot of money, and he's a millionaire.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got the business that he does do. But when it came to wrestling, he got involved. He was Vince McMahon before Vince McMahon in a way, because no promoter had ever jumped in the ring, and that I had ever seen in my life until he did. And when he jumped in that night, the poor guy just got so caught up in what was going on, and he jumped in there, and I went and nailed him, and boom, I kind of split his nose open, and back he went, and there's a saying in professional wrestling: anybody that jumps in the ring that has no business being in there, no matter who I'm wrestling, we all go after that guy.
Yeah.
And I got him first, and he was swinging away at everybody. He just wanted to get in and start cleaning house, and boom, I had to put a stop to it.
One of the most ludicrous, infamous.
You were there that night, weren't you?
The funny thing was, because
we had a mixed tag match. Didn't we have some girls in there?
Yeah, the girls. Well, that's the reason why he jumped in there, because he thought you were like trying to cripple the ladies or something.
Well, one girl, we were holding her down, but we had the other girl.
You were working her over, but
I wasn't doing to her. I was holding her arms, but the other girl's going to splash her was all.
Exactly. Now, the funny thing about that is because you did have the lawsuit with that, and I had come with my crew 2 weeks.
We had to send a message.
Yeah, and I almost brought the cameras in that one day. Can you imagine if we could roll the footage?
We got filmed from England from that show that night.
That's right,
for two different angles.
That's right.
And we did well, and we did all right in that. And so but it sent a message. Yeah, you can't do what he did.
That could have been on one of those shows, like Caught on TV or something. Watch as the promoter gets caught up in the action. Okay, let's move on. How about Hulk Hogan? What's your
class
act?
Yep, treated me fair since day one, and been very nice to me and to everybody. He's very much Terry Bollea in the back, and Hulk Hogan in front of the cameras. Otherwise, super guy.
Jesse Ventura.
Got along with him great for the 2 years I was with him, and then was with over in Japan with him a couple times, and then he called me long distance, which I'm not going to say what he was telling me. He was tag team with Adrian Adonis, telling me about some of the things that were going on in New York, which I cannot repeat on the air at this time for protection of himself and for the best interest of everybody at this time. And then I'm going in length with Jesse, but God love him for being able to become governor, and he did what he did best, sell himself to the people and to the younger generation, the 18-year-olds, and get the vote from those kids, and was able to beat Humphrey and the other guy.
Yeah.
And that was unbelievable. And to this day, there's a lot of people that don't like him as governor back there that I talk to a lot, and some people that do. But there's a lot of senators and governors around the country when I watch him on Larry King that one senator from Colorado too just says, "Oh, you only made it because you were a wrestler." You know what I mean? And then there's ones that treat him really well, and I think he's done a good job in a lot of ways. And then again, Jesse Ventura, I'm going off on a rant here, but then again, I got to say that he should thank me for being governor. Can I be a little facetious here?
Go for it.
Well, we had a loser leave town. We split up, after 2 years, and we went against each other in the summer around 77, and we split up and we wrestled against each other, and we built up to a loser leave town. And I told the news crew that he became governor when they came to my house to ask me about it. I says, well, just think since I won that match, I sent him back to Minnesota, so now he became governor. Think what if I would have lost? I'd have gone back to Minnesota and I'd have become governor.
Is it safe to say, though, that Buddy Rose, that he used a lot of his skills as a wrestler to work the audience in working into the governor's seat?
Yes. Oh, yes. I thought you were talking about skills in the ring.
Oh, well,
the guy was not a wrestler.
This is what he did.
He did the Billy Graham. So did Billy Graham, but they made a lot of money off it. Adrian Adonis was the hard worker of the tag team. I was the hard worker of the tag. I was the one that did all the flying around, and he just did the kicking and I did this and he did this. You know what I mean? And it was like, we made money together. We were complete opposites. It was like, the Mick Bachman to Ray Stevens. You had to have, some of the best teams were complete opposites. And that's what we were. We were complete opposites.
Now,
he was a bodybuilder and I wasn't.
You mentioned that book, and you said there's a lot of things that are incorrect in that book. That makes me want to go get the book and read it.
Yeah.
So I'll have to go draw my own conclusions, I guess, right?
Right.
All right, let's move on. How about Matt Bourne?
I think a great credit to the business. Has a few personal problems, just like we all have had. He was one of the guys in the frat house with all of us back. like, well, what does Piper say? He was king of the frat house, you know, and he was, and he still, you know, he was the king of the frat house. But we were all in that frat house. I mean, the Hulk Hogan's and the Curt Hennigs, and all of us were. I mean, we all had our downside, and we all got into the drugs and you know, all the pills and all that stuff. And you know, that was an era of, that was back in WWF, you know, and like Jake the Snake said in the movie, it's almost just exactly like he said, to catch a plane every day, every morning, and go all day long. We only wrestled 10, 15 minutes a night, but it was like, go, go, go. You go to bed at 1 at night, get up at 5 in the morning, do it all over again, and sometimes double shots in the same day.
Yeah. What about Billy Jack Haynes?
Had all the potential in the world to be one of the best, greatest wrestlers in the sport, and could have been still to this day, and could have been a millionaire today. But just he got a good break there in New York, came back like I did, and came back and tried to promote and go against Don Owens at the time, and pretty much like in Billy Jack's words, I guess I could say, is he said that he saw that house that Don Owens drew at the Coliseum with him and Flair and Piper and myself, and it was like, he said that, God, look at all the money Don Owens is making here, you know. We made a lot of money too, but don't get me wrong. I mean, when Don Owens taking home 40, 50 grand out of that show for one night, he had visions of grandeur, thinking, man, if I was a promoter, I could do that. So he wanted to jump from making 40, 50,000 a year to making maybe 60, 70,000 a year in the Northwest here, being home every night, which was a luxury in professional wrestling. I love that about the Northwest, and because I love my home life, you know. But he just wanted to jump right in the promotion world and get rich quick, fast.
It didn't really work out that way.
It didn't work out that way.
Would it be safe to say that like he's his own worst enemy?
Yeah, I'd say that. He's got some personal, things going on in his life, and wherever he is right now, I hope he's working them out. And we all had to. I had them, and I worked them out, and I'll have problems probably in the future, just like everybody does. I mean, from, like I said, from the Hogans to the Pipers to the new kids, they're all going to face reality and real problems, and you got to be able to come out of it, and you learn from your mistakes, and you just make yourself a better person from that.
Okay, how about Roddy Piper?
Class guy, first class guy. He's been fair with me all the way. We've been knowing each other since 71, 71 or 70s, for almost 30 years, and we're still good friends to this day. We're still best friends.
What about Don Owens?
Very fair, but very, very screechy, a screechy kind of guy. But he says his biggest Don Owens. Sorry, I'm going off on rants on these guys because when you say their names, I got a lot to say about.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry, I'm ruining your game. I told you I didn't have this.
This is how. I'm sure the people out there right now are having a great time just listening to you, just like I am. So feel free.
Don Owens, said we used to ask him back in the glory days, as some of these younger guys call it. We used to ask him like, who's drawn the most money for you, Don Owens? He goes, Jesus Christ, like that. He talked like, can I say that?
Yeah.
He goes, and that tough Tony Bourne used to, before you ever got here, drew more people. He says, back in that old armory. He says, but more money. I'd have to say, you son of a, what he called me. He says, you probably draw me the most because the prices back when Tony Bourne was on top. It's like $3, $4 for ringside, $2, $1.50.
Unbelievable.
And then when we were doing it, it was $8 to $10. So he said, you drew me, the most money. So in your run that you were here, of anybody that's ever been here. So that was a nice compliment to know that.
And weren't you, I think you also told me once, weren't you like the first guy to go through a table in the Northwest? And now you do it all the time.
Yes. I used to get yelled at for it.
Yeah.
In Seattle, I would go over the top rope and land on the table at the ring announcer. Same kind of tables, too.
Yeah.
And go right through it, boom. And Don Owens would yell at me. And then Saturday night when I was getting paid, going, Jesus Christ, that table cost me $100. Well, now I see them $42 at some stores, right?
Yeah.
You buy them in mass production, they're probably $20, like the companies are buying them now. But, oh, yeah, I said, yeah, but Don, did you see the house? He goes, yeah, Jesus, you always have a comeback on me. I said, yeah, count the money from the house. Don't worry that $100, and then you look at the few thousand more dollars it's going to draw the next time. And he went, all they could say was, you're right.
Now, being a big supporter of the commission, or maybe back then, are you now?
No.
Because I heard from what Ed Moretti said last time he was here, the commission is completely different than it used to be when you two guys were supporting
Right. But I still, even when the commission first came here, it changed wrestling. You know, it just, if you were bleeding, they wanted to stop it.
Yeah.
People were orientated and educated to blood and guts here and wrestling. And we gave them all of that. And then the commission came in and put a stop to a lot of it. But basically, it was kind of maybe at the start, the beginning of the end for the Northwest.
Do you think if the commission actually never came about, do you think that wrestling here would still be strong today? Maybe Don Owens would still probably.
Oh, it might have been. It might have been, yeah. Because Don Owens probably would have kept running because it was a pain in the rear end to him. He hated having to follow all those rules and have all those wrestlers jump through hoops. There's a good thing in it too. It was to keep the diseases out.
Yeah.
The guys that didn't take care of their health and or had scabies and or some kind of disease or AIDS, and was a big thing in life now. You got to respect that.
Yeah.
So I do. I don't want to wrestle somebody that I might split open, he might split me open, and we're transferring blood back and forth, and he's HIV positive, you know. So knock on wood, you know, I've never been, and I hope never, none of us or anybody watching ever is, you know. And to anybody that is, I'm sorry. I mean, you know, but look at Magic Johnson, you know. I mean, he still looks as healthy as a horse, right? And it looks like they can't even detect it on him anymore. So. But he's getting the best of treatment, but not everybody can get that.
Yeah, he's got top dollar money, too, to take care of that situation. So I thought we had a great interview, and now it's time for the puppies. So let's see what you got.
Okay, here. All right, now, some of you might want to tell your kids to go to bed right now or might want to go to their room. No, it's all right. They can stay out. They can see this. Yeah, no. Here. I'm going to show. I promised you a puppy. Here's one of my puppies right here. This is Pixie Marie Pebbles Rose.
Wow. It's a nice name.
I've raised dachshunds. You know, I've got
Pretzel
Pebbles and a Pepper, and then I got a Presley and a Pixie, and this is one of my puppies here, Pixie. She's 4 years old, and she can sing. And
can I bust out a tune?
Bust out a rhyme?
Bust out a rhyme.
The Man Show.
She sings with Jeopardy, doesn't she?
Yes, she does. I don't know if I can get her to sing, but I'm going to try, okay?
Okay.
All right, Pixie, sing.
Let's get a close-up of this.
Sing, Pixie, sing. Oh, sing. Oh, sing, Pixie. Oh. Sing. And she's singing Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to everybody.
That's right.
And make sure you, the people get to see my puppy here because I promise.
Definitely.
And I just want to say, you got a great show here.
Thank you.
And I hope I can come back again.
Let's do a live show in the future. I think that'd be actually.
And take phone calls.
Let's take phone calls, yeah.
That'd be great.
That'd be good. Buddy Rose, thank you for showing up on the Squirtsville's Greatest Matches. It's been another classic edition, if I should say so.
And they can catch that XPW on American One, I think it is, on DirecTV satellite, if you got it.
And hopefully, we'll have some XPW on this show. They probably have already seen it if we do.
I'll bring some video.
It'll be good. All right, Buddy Rose, thanks a lot for showing up.
You're welcome.
Lone Wolf and Buddy Rose sign up for the Squirtsville's Greatest Matches. Thanks for the crew, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
And for Pixie for singing for us. This is the Lone Wolf, and we'll see you
Merry
next
Christmas, Happy New Year to everyone.